President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held their first meeting since President Trump took office. During Wednesday's joint news conference, the president reaffirmed America's unwavering support for the state of Israel. He also veered from years of U.S. policy in the Middle East, backing off a two-state solution as the only path to peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. Danny Ayalon, a former Israeli ambassador to the U.S., is here. Thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador.
Thank you, Elaine.
Let me begin by asking you, what did you make of the Prime Minister and the President's first face-to-face meeting?
Well, I think the first thing is the chemistry. And I think this is something that was lacking in the last 8 years. Unfortunately, maybe because of different personalities, Obama and Netanyahu, different ideologies. We see here at least the optics are totally different. And I think what also was an intent by the president was that there is no daylight between Israel and the United States, which is also in American interest, by the way, because when there is no daylight, then there is no mischief by any enemies. And also Israel feels more confident to make concessions for peace. This wasn't the case before. Although there is this wrong impression as if Obama didn't have Israel's back, which is not true at all. Actually, defense relations, intelligence and everything else was an all-time high between Israel and the United States in the last 8 years, because Obama understands that Israel is an asset for the U.S. to stop radical Islam, to stop Iran, to save Europe and to, of course, help the West. We are all on the same side. And so it is very unfortunate that the last 8 years, because of some misunderstandings, were perceived as there was a daylight, which really there wasn't.
Well, do you think then there will be a better chance under this administration to have a peace agreement?
Well, I will tell you that for Netanyahu, after this such warm hug by Trump, will be very difficult to say no to Trump. But Israel is willing for the concessions. The question, the missing puzzle is the Palestinians. You know, if Abbas will be ready to meet Netanyahu, which he avoided for the last 8 years almost, if he will be ready also to make concessions, Israel will make concessions, he will make concessions, then maybe we can meet halfway. If not, Elaine, I would suggest, with my experience, you know, we've had great frustration. Actually, 8 American presidents tried and failed. It's not because of their lack of leadership, it's because of the parties. Only the parties can make the peace. And if Abbas is not ready to make the concessions and to bring the conflict to a finality, the ends of claims, then we should look for something which is less from perfect, like an interim, long-term interim, you know, where you have an interim agreement where we keep the final details for maybe another generation.
President Trump said compromises will have to be made on both sides. So what specifically are the concessions you think Israel will be willing to give?
Well, I think from Israel's point of view, certainly Israel is willing to give a lot of territory. We already gave a lot of territory. You know, Gaza, you know, we withdrew from Gaza 100%. And unfortunately, the Palestinians used it as a platform to launch more missiles on us. So, of course, we were very worried about the next step. So we want to know that if we give up territory, then we have to have ironclad security. And so we will have to have responsible for security, to fight, to fight terror. We will have to have presence, military presence on the Jordan Valley, you know, to keep terrorists from coming in. We would need a recognition of Israel as a Jewish state, because this is how we self-determine ourselves.
What about the moving of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? This is something that President Trump has said he has supported. Today, in the conversation that took place with the two leaders, publicly he said, we're looking at it very, very strongly. We'll see what happens. What did you make of that?
Yes, well, here, I'll tell you, this is it's not as easy as it looks. I'll tell you why. Because, first of all, I think it was not much articulated. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem is to West Jerusalem, which everybody recognizes as Israel's. So it shouldn't be of much concern to anyone. You know, until 1981, there were 13 embassies in Jerusalem of European countries. So it will not be something of a watershed. Secondly, and I'm afraid here, once the president pledges to move the embassy, and then we see a pushback by the Palestinians with threat to the United States, then if you don't do it, that is perceived as yield under pressure or under threats, this is undermining American deterrence, and that could be a slippery slope, because then all other enemies of the U.S. may be tempted to test it and to push back, whether it's North Korea, whether it's Iran, whether it's Russia or China. This is why I think that the president now is in a very, very sensitive place, because if he doesn't make good on his pledge under the threat, had the Palestinians not threatened, would be a different story. But now they have threatened. Now we'll see what has to be done. My suggestion, a diplomatic solution always, do it, but in a gradual manner. So maybe this is
gradual manner.
Yeah, like for instance, there is already a nice lot of land that was purchased by the United States in Jerusalem, in West Jerusalem, for an embassy. So let's say they can start breaking ground. Very, very gradual to do it, and maybe this will be the solution.
We'll have to see. But you think there would be consequences if the president does not follow through with the commitment to move the embassy?
I'm afraid so, because again, we cannot let anybody bully us, because then you send the wrong signals that we will cower under threats, and then there's never end to that.
All right. Former Israeli Ambassador Danny Ayalon, thank you so much for stopping by, Ambassador. Appreciate it.